Hello and welcome to another Monkey's Motors Monday morning vlog. As you may have noticed, this isn't our usual route, and that's because I'm actually on the way home, so thought I'd take a different way for once, show you some new roads again. So what have I been up to this week? First off, as you may have already seen, God, how many times did I say that? I hit my 1,000 subscribers and released that little Monkey's Motors montage. I'm quite pleased with that video. It took quite a lot of time and effort to make. Lots of days going out on rides, cameras in different positions to get all the footage required, and then trawled through, my bus is over the line, trawled through some of the old footage for a bit of a montage in the second half. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. So hopefully you enjoyed that too. And then that's been about it. It's been a nice quiet week again. Nothing made me angry. No one's tried to kill me. So because of that, I am gonna go back to my good old subscriber suggestions. So yeah, in the comments below, if there's any topics you want me to ever talk about, just write them down. I read all my comments, you know, all 3 of them. I read all my comments, and I will make a note of any suggestions, and then on days like today where I'm not sure what to talk about, I will answer your questions. So I'm going to butcher your name, I'm afraid, but I'm going to go for Johan, something like that. I know it's got a C in it, but whatever. He's asked me, as you can see on screen, what my thoughts are about progressing from a smaller bike to a larger bike. He's currently riding a restricted 600cc Yamaha diversion, if I remember correctly, and he's kind of just asking, well, what does it feel like when you go from a small to a big bike? What is that step like? So my only real experience with that would have been going from the CBT 125, little 125 Honda, jumping onto a 500cc parallel twin while I was doing my direct access, while I was getting my license. So I'd spent half a day riding a 125, and then the next time I sat on a motorbike it was a 500cc parallel twin, so a bit of a jump in power. I know a 500cc parallel twin might not sound much, but those good old Hondas, they had plenty of low down torque and low down power, so for riding around town, and while under the speed limit, that thing went quick. It was very quick acceleration to 70 miles an hour. It just then didn't have any much more grunt in it. It'd get to 90, 100 and then it'd run out of steam. But really good fun bike, really enjoyed riding it around. And yeah, that was a definite, you really noticed the increase in power. It was like night and day, because a 125 is probably in acceleration terms equivalent to my old Renault Clio 1.2, so it's kind of, they've got a lot of poke, a 125. They're off the line 0 to 30, they're pretty nippy. So going to a 500cc, that thing, that's Porsche kind of speeds. You're looking at 0 to 60 in like 5 seconds or something crazy, which is a lot of horses. Let's just ease in here, piss everyone off. So yeah, they're no slow pokes, and yeah, I only had one little terrifying incident very early on, getting accustomed to the power, and that was, so before you're allowed out on the road, this is my first day riding ever, he had us kind of slowly going laps around this little off-road training site, a little car park thing, and I didn't have any gear at the time. I was brand new to riding, so everything was loaned, and I had these like thick winter gloves on. I was learning like early March, so it was pretty nippy. And I remember at one point I wanted to kind of just adjust my hand, how my hand was on the throttle, and eased off, let go, so I thought, of the throttle, and kind of twisted my hand around, but where the glove was so thick and chunky, it still had hold of the throttle, so yeah, it just opened the throttle a little bit, and I shat myself. I started hurtling towards this fence, but then, it was a split-second thing, obviously. Then the engine braking slowed the bike back down. I managed to slow down and carry on doing my circles, crisis was averted, but that split second was just terror. These bikes, big bikes, they have a lot of power. You just have to respect that power, and you quickly learn, well, you learn how to do it on, everyone's different. Some people might take a bit longer, but once you're there, that power, it's just like, it's nothing else like it. Opening the throttle on a motorbike and flying forwards, it's just so much fun. It really is brilliant fun. And I have to say, jumping from a 600cc on the thousands, sports bikes, that kind of thing, the increase in power again, it's not as scary, it's just as fun. It is, you know, that increase in power, it does just mean it is more fun. When you're from that throttle and feel that acceleration, it is pretty amazing. But it isn't as scary, you know. Going from 100 horses to 160, 170 is a lot less scary than going from 8 horsepower to 50. That's, you know, that is a big 5 times as power, 6 times as power. That's a big jump. But you know, what intimidates me about test riding these different bikes is the riding positions. It's amazing how different a cruiser can feel to this Hornet, and then how a Supersport can feel. Because yeah, that Ducati, when I first got on that Ducati, it was like I'd never ridden a bike before. I was just like, what in God's name am I doing? How does this work? It was terrifying. Everything just felt so alien. It was like, it was worse, you know. I've driven cars with the steering wheel on the other side, you know, while I've been abroad, and that is easier than getting on the Supersport. The Supersport is such a strange experience. It's like you're laying down on top of the bike rather than sat on it, you know. But you know, it's good fun. Glad I've done it. It's not for me, but it was a good laugh. So you might recognise these traffic lights. It's our usual start place for our Monday morning vlogs, so I guess it can be the end place. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Do you ever wonder how bikers deal with runny noses? We don't. It just drips. You see it. It's just running down my face into my mouth. How I've come along. Slowly getting the hang of this. Whatever. Anyway, stop blowing yourself down. Is that a phrase? Stop blowing yourself? I took a couple of ribs out maybe. Fucking hell. I've gone off topic. Test ride. So, obviously there's loads of stuff I didn't say about the bike that I wanted to, but never mind. Let's forget all that now. Let's move on.